Welcome you all to the second lecture related to the week 8 regarding history of Arabic literature course title. After being aware of the historical and political background related to the diaspora phenomenon in modern Arab history or post World War Arab history, of course, we can prefer this term to be used. The first thing that comes to us is how diaspora is represented in modern Arabic literary scenario. So here the first thing is that of الرابطة القلمية. الرابطة القلمية. Second is العصبة الأندلسية. The Pen League, Rabtat al-Qalamiyya, is known as the Pen League in English. It was the first Arabic language literary society in North America, founded in New York in 1920 by prominent writers such as Khalil Gibran and Mikhail Nuaima, sometimes written as Khalil Gibran, and Mikhail Naimi. So Khalil Gibran or Jubran sometimes, Jubran Khalil Jubran, Jubran Khalil Jubran, and Mikhail Nuaima, related to Ar-Rabta al-Qalamiyya. Of course, alongside some others. Its main goal was to revitalize Arabic literature by moving away from imitations of ancient styles and infusing it with new life. The society was instrumental in the development of Arab American literature before it dissolved shortly after Gibran's death in 1931. So it actually represents approximately 11 years. But this short span of time didn't hinder the organization to produce, to mark its imprints, very powerful imprints in the map of the Reformation, Tajdeed, development of Arabic language and literature, and to infuse it with a new life. So we'll be having a plethora of prominent writers, prominent prose, scholars of prose, writers and poets and critics who were associated with the organization. While a preliminary version existed earlier, the society was officially reformed in 1920 by a larger group of Mahjari diaspora writers, including Gibran Khalil, Mikhail Nuaima, Nasib Arida, Abdul Masih Haddad. So they were the chief founders. Gibran Khalil Gibran, Mikhail Nuaima, Nasib Arida, Abdul Masih Haddad, Nasib Arida, and Abdul Masih Haddad. The goals were to reform Arabic literature and language, moving it from stagnation and imitation towards a new, more active force. They sought to be true to their own experiences while honoring their heritage. So their aim was very clear. They must honor the heritage. They must belong, reaffirm their belonging, is augment their sense of belonging to the roots, the legacy. But since they lived in a modern society, in a society that is dictated by, that is formed by specific currents and undercurrents of time, social and political needs, the thought patterns, etc. So these things must be taken into account in the domain of poetry and prose, that is in the literary domains, including criticism. So while honoring their heritage, their ancestry, their roots, they must stand true to the daily experiences of life or the new realities. In the domain of activities, they wrote poetry, essays, and novels. They published their work in journals such as As-Sayh, which acted as the society's press organ and transmitted messages to the Arab world. In the domain of legacy, the League played a significant role in promoting and shaping Arab American literature. Its members produced a large body of influential works, and their impact continues to be felt today. And because of certain situations related to chiefly their primary their homeland, the place of their origin, that is Lebanon, the Levant. They had to come back, and sometimes death of some of its members, prominent members. These things resulted in the end of dissolution of the organization, that is Rabta al-Qalamiyya. So this has played significant role, as we can see. The Pen League is known for publishing certain organs in order to augment their literary activities and organize their literary activities, organize literary events. So, in order to promote this culture of their like belonging to Arabic language, and to preserve their ancestry, chiefly the things related to language, the language sensitivity, and how to preserve it for the posterity, seconded by their urge to reform the domain of Arabic language and literature, the literary discourse, not limited to America or the place they have migrated. So these journals played a notable role in this regard. Kawkab America was significant. It was published between 1892 and 1908. It became a daily in 1898. This is a specimen of Kawkab America. It was owned by Najib and Ibrahim Arbili and published by Najib and Ibrahim Arbili from New York City. There are the four primary members of the organization: Nasib Arida, Gibran Khalil Gibran, Abdul Masih Haddad, and Mikhail Noaima. These are the prominent, these are the founders, and all of them are the stalwarts, very noted literary figures in the history of Arabic literature. Alongside these, there were some members like Rashid Ayyub was another member. Nasib Arida was the founder, among the founder. Wadi Bahut, a member. William Katzfelis, a member. And Nadra Haddad, a member. Ili Abu Mabi was also a member. Mikhail Naima was among the founders, and he was the secretary. Amin al-Raihani also played a significant role. 8 out of 10 members were Greek Orthodox and 2 were the Maronites. So this is again the point that requires proper consideration. As we have seen from the very early lectures, that Arabic is not to be equated with the Muslims or the Arab Muslims. It was a language of the Arabs with the different ethnicities, different religious, having different religious identities. So there were the Christians, there were the Jews, and other lesser known entities like the Sabi'ah, As-Sabi'ah, the star worshippers, for example. And in different parts of, in different phases of history after advent of Islam, we'll be having several ethnic entities related to Arabic, having the Arabic as their mother tongue, like the Darus, the Yazidis, and many others. So regarding these two reform movements, that is Al-Rabtat al-Qalamiyya and Al-Usba al-Andalusiyya, we find that they were their members were primarily they were the Christians. So 8 out of the 10 members were Greek Orthodox and 2 were the Maronites, the all Christians. So here religion didn't play the ideological role in the course of things, Arabic as a language, but this drives home the point that the language discourse, the language reform mission organizations dedicated themselves to address the language issues in Arabic, especially during the this early stage of reform. It was the language was not a factor of divide, rather it was a factor that played its role, carried its role on the inclusivist lines, not the exclusivist lines. There were also some musicians such as Ras al-Bunai who were associated with the group. Al-Usba al-Andalusiyya, that was the South American counterpart of Al-Rabtat al-Qalamiyya or the Pen League, the Andalusian society, the Andalusian group. It was established in Sao Paulo in Brazil in January, in early days of January 1933, consisting of a number of a larger number of poets and men of letters, larger than the number we find in relation to Al-Rabita al-Qalamiyya. So it was founded by the idea was executed by the Lebanese migrant Michel Nouman Ma'louf. It must be recollected that the Ma'alifa, the plural is Ma'alifa, they had played very significant role in the domain of language and literature in Lebanon. So we'll be having a large number of شعراء معالفة. المعالفة في الحقيقة معلوف وجمع ذلك المعالفة يعني هم معروفون لدورهم الكبير في إثراء الصحة الأدبية والثقافية والفكرية في لبنان وغيرها. فهناك شعراء معالفة وأدباء معالفة معروفون بإسهامهم الكبير في هذا السياق. He is also known for generous patronage. He was a philanthropist and he was known for generous patronage of the society, that society, because any society while having activities, while carrying activities, it has the specific needs which have to be addressed, catered to, so taken care of. and that warrants funds. So, Michel Norman Malouf also is known for generous patronage extended to Al-Usba al-Andalusia. So, first it was Michel Norman Malouf who was the chair, who chaired this organization, who was the president of the organization, followed by Ashar al-Qarawi, Rashid Salim al-Khoury. Rashid Salim al-Khoury is known as Ashar al-Qarawi in the beginning of 1958. The purpose was again to promote Arab American literature in the Middle East and vice versa, and to unite Arab writers and enhance the local literature in Brazil. And it carried out a plethora of activities, like publishing journals like Al-Usba al-Andalusia, Al-Andalus al-Jarida, to disseminate the ideas, the missions, the concepts of the organization. The members representing Al-Usba al-Andalusia was Michel Norman Malouf, Fawzi al-Malouf, Michel al-Maghribi, Rashid Salim al-Khoury, Shafiq al-Malouf, Ilyas Farhat, Aql al-Jar, Shukrullah al-Jar, Jarjis Karam, Tawfiq Qurban, Iskandar Kirbaj, Nazir Zaytoun, Mehdi Skafi, Tawfiq Zaoun, Qaisar Salim al-Khoury, Salma bint Jibran al-Sair, Dawood Shakur, and among others. What are the characteristics of this organization? The characteristics of the vision and their literary mission. In the domain of poetry, and again, it must be recollected that while comparing between the activities of the literary productions of the priorities and productions of literary priorities and literary production of contribution of these two groups, that is Rabita al-Qalamiyya and Al-Usba al-Andalusia, it is noticeable that Al-Usba focused more on poetry, while Rabita was akin to, it was more related, focused on the prose. So, in the domain of poetry, the primary idea was the al-wahda al-azawiyya, the organic cohesion, the consistency from one thought to another, one unit of the qasida to another unit of qasida, as if the qasida was like it was an organic entity, just like a human body, for example, consisting of different parts from head to the toe. So each and everything being in perfect order. So there was the organic cohesion. So the idea was that this organic cohesion also is present in poetry, and poem cannot be separated, cannot be thought in isolation of this. Means the poet has to focus on maintaining the organic cohesion while dealing with the poetic contents, the thought contents, the structural parts of the qasida alongside the thematic aspects of qasida. So there must be the al-wahda al-azawiyya. So that might seem nowadays to be something that has already existed. It is something known that a qasida should be organically having cohesion. So there will be the organic cohesion. But when seen in the broader historical perspectives of Arabic poetics, represented by different genre of poetry, the very structure of the classical poetry, which sometimes might seem to be devoid of the organic cohesion, where a poem of love can hardly be identified or seen in quite points of departure or difference from a poem which is in, it's like a natural prelude. because it was actually a thematic mix. The traditional qasida was a thematic mix. So in this sequence, when the tradition or a significant part of tradition was a thematic mix, we don't this doesn't tantamount to saying that it was a chaos. It was mixed. That was the structure that was inherited. It was passed from one generation to another. But in the modern parlances, in modern times, the poetic lines, the poetic discourse was thought in complete adherence to the norms of cohesion, organic cohesion. So in this sequence, it becomes significant. So both الرابطة القلمية and العصبة underlined that need. Even this was visible when it in relation to the nomenclature, to the titles of the anthologies, like Al-Khawamil, Al-Jadawil by Ilya Abu Madi, Hamsul Jufun by Mikhail Noema. Symbolism. Symbolism is another significant part of this, the symbolic use of symbolism. Because, and of course, symbolism has been long in vogue. It has been part of the literary and poetic discourse. The literary discourse in a significant genre, in a significant number, in a large number of genre, whether in the domain of poetry or prose, for a plethora of reasons. When it was difficult for the poet or for the man of letters, for the writer to illustrate things as they are, so not simply like historical accounts. So putting the things in black and white, sometimes that would be troubling the writer, the adib or the shair in many perspectives, in social perspectives and political perspectives, alongside perspectives related to the beauty of the charm of the literature as a genre, or the aesthetic needs, the aesthetic components of a piece of a creation. So sometimes it has to be symbolic in so many perspectives. So that's why Attinatul Hamqa by Ilya Abu Madi, even this is a symbol as regards the nomenclature. Another thing that constitutes a primary facet of the poetry, chiefly poetry, in Al-Rabta, in both Al-Rabta as well as Al-Usba, that it focused on liberation from the traditional awzan and qawafi. So the traditional metrical arrangement, the rhyming pattern, strictly adhering to the standards canonized by Khalid ibn Ahmad al-Farahidi, al-Awzan al-Khalidiyya, for example. All these buhur, Bahri Tawil and Madid and Wafir, etc. Or fa'ilatun, fa'ilatun, fa'ilun, etc. Mustaf'ilun, fa'ilat, mustaf'ilun, fa'ilat. All these awzan, the traditional awzan. So there was the liberation to find some freedom, to liberate oneself, either fully, or he should be left to his own will, either to use, either to prefer the traditional pattern or have his own way, breaking away from like violating these norms, or enjoying greater amounts of versify, great amounts of freedom in the process of versification. So التحرر من الوزن والقافية, that is liberation from, or liberty from the burden of أوزان and قوافي, traditional أوزان and قوافي, the metrical regime, the scansion system, the scansion paradigm that were very much rigid, as it is well known in the kutub, in the books of Aruz. So this led to the poetry being liberated from the metrics of wazan and qafiya, and it led to emergence of some new genre, chiefly the Ashyar al-Hurr. So Ashyar al-Hurr is related to this, alongside the poetry in drama, or the dramatic poetry. So dramatic poetry, Ashyar al-Tamsili and Ashyar al-Hurr. Ashyar al-Hurr and Ashyar al-Tamsili. Ashyar al-Hurr, of course, one part of Ashyar al-Hurr is known as Nasira. Nasira, of course. It's also known as Sher al-Mansur. Ashyar al-Mansur. Ashyar al-Nasari also. They preferred simplicity in language and style. So again, this is a significant characteristic. They preferred simplicity وفضلوا السهولة والوضوح في اللغة والأساليب. فالأساليب الكلاسيكية مثلا كانت معقدة، أو أنها لم تخلو من التعقيد، إنها لم تكن سهلة في بعض الأحوال، في بعض السياقات، ولم تكن واضحة. فيعني هاتان المنظمتان في سياق التجديد اللغة والتجديد الأسلوب، إنهما مالتا إلى السهولة والوضوح في اللغة والأساليب أكثر. الإكثار من استخدام الشكل القصصي في القصيدة. الشكل القصصي, the narrative. This led to emergence of a narrative that involved, deeply involved, use of the dramatic, the narrative form in qasida. So qasida, the narrative qasida poems is structured deeply on the paradigm of narration, the narrative form of qasida, as we find in the compositions of Gibran, Batran, and Ilya Abu Madi. Regarding the themes, because these things were related to the language, the aspects of language, stylistics, etc., choice of words and choice of phrases. As regards the themes, so these persons, these organizations, these reform missions of reformation, they represented the differences in identity, the identity crisis, صراعات الهوية. Because while these peoples migrated to another place, they found themselves in a new milieu with its own issues, own identity, own sensitivities in terms of language, literature, social norms, and of course also the religious parameters. So this led to an identity crisis, a struggle for identity. So what was their identity? Because they have left their place of origin. Now they have migrated to another place. So it was a geography of escape. But this geography of escape didn't provide him complete mental satisfaction. They found themselves to be in a new situation where they faced issues of loneliness, for example, uh, diminishing their with the diminishing amount of cultural identity, cultural pride, among other things. So identity crisis is a typical um, theme in the diaspora literature. While getting disseminated in the new milieu, dissemination in new culture, this is the second theme, because they have gone to another culture, so they had to disseminate. They had in a new culture, in the local culture, they have to be part of the local culture. So this indemage, this merging in, this dissemination of oneself into the local culture, and here local culture was the American society. It was another facet, another thematic facet. الشعور بالغربة عن الثقافة العربية. The sense of estrangement. They found themselves strangers. So the displacement, the idea of the sense of displacement, estrangement was another thematic issue, including longing to the motherland, to the original, to the place of their origin. الهموم إلى بالإضافة إلى هموم الوطن. النزعة الإنسانية, the tendencies were they adhered to, they focused on the النزعات الإنسانية, that is the human tendencies, humanism, human rights, human identity, humanism, human behavior, like the identity of a person as a human, as a member of humankind, not primarily to be seen in the backdrop of his association to a specific ethnic identity, or having or a specific religious identity. So simply on the basis of being humans, here it is the humanity that takes the center stage. So this had emerged as a theme, as a central theme in their writings, alongside the contemplative mode, subjectivity, contemplative mode. So here the emotions were contemplative, were subjective, that focused on resorting to the inner domain of existence, compared to the outer domain of existence, while they were living in their hometowns, in their places of their origin, places of their birth, because they actually found themselves in a cacophony of issues, of vices, troubling vices, the chaos of life, the enormous chaos, or the chaotic situation, especially in Europe, where every person, every member of the household had to play his role in earning the livelihood for the house. So that was this reality, a new reality, stood in contrast, somehow in contrast to what was the vogue, the rule in East, where in East it was the father, for example, or the guardian, main guardian of the household, who was responsible for providing livelihood to or addressing the needs, all needs. So that was again a point of departure. Among the most significant uh, poets were Gibran Khalil Gibran, and among the most present significant critics, Mikhail Noema. So these persons, among others, would be the topics of deliberation in the next lecture. So with this, we are concluding this lecture. Thank you.